I was born in Mangalore. Sri Swami Chidananda. I was born in Mangalore, which is a riverside town. Today it is a big city situated in the west coastal region of South India. Mangalore is 69 kilometers from Anandashram in Kanhangad railway station on the Mangalore-Madras route. I was born on 24th September 1916 in the house of my maternal grandfather, Sri Nalikai Venkat Rao, and his Dharma Patni Smint Sundarama. Both were pious and extremely generous hearted, especially to the poor and the needy. My mother's name was Esmint Sarojini Devi. Grandparents simply adored her because she was the first child to survive in their family, after grandmother had lost 11 male children. One after the other, Mother Sarojini Devi was born in 1900 and passed away when she was 25 years of age. She had 5 children.
My elder sister Hemalata was 11 years of age and myself 9 years when mother passed away. Just as my mother was the first surviving child in the family, it so happened that I was the first male child in the family and hence I became the apple of the eye to grandmother. Grandmother and mother used to vie with each other in showering their love upon this being whom they named as Sridhar. Father's family lived in Madras. After my birth, I was expected to be brought home to my father's house. In my case, however, the maternal grandparents pleaded and prayed that being the first male child in the family, I may be allowed to remain with them in Mangalore and be brought up and educated there. Unexpectedly, almost miraculously, my father Sri Srinivas Rao understood their heart's earnest longing and very generously granted their prayer. Thus it was that for the first 16 years of my life, I was brought up and given a good education in Mangalore town in close proximity to Kasaragod and Kanhangad, with which Ramdas' early life was closely connected. Later, as a student, he Papa Ramdas shifted to Mangalore and did his high school at the Mission High School run by the German Basel Mission. Later, after taking a course in textile technology at Bombay and having served in a number of textile mills in different places, Papa Ramdas finally came back to Mangalore and set up a small textile business in the form of a handloom factory at Falnir, beyond Hampankata. What happened to Vital Rao, as Papa Ramdas was called in his younger days, during that period is too well known a story for me to relate anything about it. It is rendered in great detail in Papa Ramdas' well known book In Quest of God. This book was a narration of his wandering all over India, steeped in the all absorbing power of the divine name. His wanderings covered the whole of the year 1923. He finally returned to Mangalore and secluded himself in some cave in the Kadri hills on the outskirts of the town, chanting Ram Nam all the time. There he was prompted to write down a brief account of his wanderings, and he did so during 1924 in Mangalore. There was a pious good gentleman called Bolar Vital Rao, by chance coinciding with Papa Ramdas's earlier name given to him by his parents. Bolar Vital Rao owned a printing press called Saraswati Printing Press, located at one corner of the old police Maidan behind St. Paul's Church. A member of Papa Ramdas's family gave the manuscript of In Quest of God to Bolar Vital Rao, requesting him to print it in a paperback type book. He printed the book under the title In Quest of God, and the price was half a rupee or 8 annas. Bolar Vital Rao and Nelikai Venkata Rao, my grandfather, were very good friends. Every day after closing the press, in the evening, Bolar Vital Rao used to drop in at Manohar Vilas and spend half an hour chatting with grandfather over a cup of excellent coffee. Over the years, Bolar Vital Rao was in the practice of bringing along with him one copy of whatever matter was printed by him on that day at his printing press and give it to grandfather. In accordance with this habit, Bolar Vital Rao brought along with him one copy of the very first 1924 edition of In Quest of God and gave it to grandfather. Though religious minded, grandfather was not interested in saints and spiritual teachings. Thus, the very first copy of In Quest of God, which was given to him by his friend, was taken by grandfather inside the house and deposited on the top of a chest of drawers, which contained numberless novels and other storybooks of grandmother, who was a voracious reader of English fiction. I like to read English novels of grandmother on this occasion. As I felt with my hand on the top of the chest of drawers, my hand fell upon Papa Ramdas in Quest of God, and I took it with me. Somehow, the photograph of Papa Ramdas taken in front of the Kadri caves, appearing as frontispiece in Quest of God, fascinated me and drew my gaze like a magnet. The more I looked at it, the more I wanted to go on looking at it. I did not want to put the book down afternoon after afternoon, lying down on a sofa in the upstairs hall. Within a week, I finished reading the book cover to cover. At that time, I was a youngster of 9 years of age. I had just lost my mother and was studying in the fourth class in the primary school. Reading the book In Quest of God opened up before me a whole new vista of what India was as I had never before known or imagined. For the first time, I came to know of the various religious places Papa had visited in his wanderings. I heard the name Himalayas and the sacred river Bhagirathi Ganga. I came to know the name of Sri Ramakrishna Paramhamsa and also the Kali temple of Bahatarini at Dakshineshwar near Calcutta. The names Kedarnath and Badrinath became part of the thought forms of my mind where they had not existed before. The words Anakshetra, Bhiksha, Ram Bhajan, etc. became part of my vocabulary. The terms Samadhi and ecstasy were first encountered in my life. My new vision revealed to me the way of life people were leading in India, unknown hitherto to my limited vision confined to home and school and home. From the time I started reading the book In Quest of God, I was consumed with an overwhelming desire to meet Swami Ramdas face to face. When sadhus came to the house to ask for alms, I used to run in and fetch the book and show them the picture of Swami Ramdas and eagerly ask them, "Have you seen this person?" One sadhu who knew a little English said, "Yes, I have seen this person. He used to come to the Maidan sometimes. I have also seen him in Kadri cave, but I do not know where he is now." I was greatly disappointed. Then one day a person told me, "Oh, yes, this Swami is now settled down in a place called Kanhangad, close to Kasaragod. His ashram is a couple of miles from Kanhangad railway station." That is how at last I was able to locate where Papa Ramdas lived. I was overjoyed that it was very close to Mangalore, and I decided to take my first chance to go to Kanhangad and have darshan of Papa. It was 1932 and I was 16. Father demanded that both myself and my younger brother Raghavendra be shifted from Mangalore to Madras, as he said, if we continued further in Mangalore, we would gradually lose all touch with the paternal family at Madras. In Madras, as we did not know Tamil language, we were admitted into English medium teaching section, and we took Sanskrit as our vernacular second language. This is how I had the good fortune of coming into contact with the wisdom of our own country and the wise sayings of our forefathers on dharma, noble character, good conduct, righteousness and idealism in life, etc., through poetical compositions called Subhashita. At about this time, my elder sister, Hemalata Bai, who was given in marriage to a Sanskrit professor or lecturer in the famous Annamalai University near Chidambaram town, was in the family way, and I was requested to accompany my sister to my grandparents' house in Mangalore for her first delivery as mother had passed away some years earlier. Some 3 or 4 months later, summons again came to me from my sister to take her and her firstborn to Coimbatore, where her in laws lived, and then onwards to Annamalai. Obediently, I had to travel again to Mangalore. I was happy to do so. My heart was filled with a strange sensation which I cannot describe when the Madras Mangalore mail passed Kanangad railway station. I was almost tempted to make a break of journey there. But the thought that some one or other was waiting with a vehicle at Mangalore railway station obliged me to wistfully continue my journey. Reaching Mangalore, I had to wait till my sister was ready to depart with the child. At the last moment, after tickets were purchased and berths reserved, something unforeseen cropped up and we had to cancel the tickets as my sister had to sit out for her monthly period. When this happened, I suddenly realized that God had taken compassion upon me and given me a chance to make a trip to Kanhangad. Hurriedly, I packed a spare towel and pyjama in a handbag, told grandfather I would be away for a day, took some money from him, and boarded some train at Mangalore station going south. It reached Kanhangad sometime mid forenoon. I got down and inquired from some people the way to Anandashram of Swami Ramdas. They pointed out the direction of the town and told me to enquire further. Thus, being guided by people from time to time, I proceeded further in the direction of Anandashram and soon stood at the gateway of Anandashram. There was a long inner driveway that seemed to lead straight to the bhajan hall. When I arrived at the bhajan hall, it was midday. Round about between 12 and p.m., Swami Ramdas was having his midday meal, sitting in his chair with his back towards the entrance of the bhajan hall and facing towards the kitchen and dining hall at the back of the bhajan hall. He was about three-fourths through with his meal, but seeing my eagerness to see him, he made no formalities, and they took me straight into his presence. At last my dream came true. My heart's longing was fulfilled. I was face to face with the writer of In Quest of God. Swami Ramdas was wreathed in smiles. His legs were stretched on a pillow, kept on a suitable wooden stool, some distance in front of the chair. I knelt on the floor, and with his permission, took both his soft feet in my hands. Bowing low, I placed my head beneath his feet and gently pressed his feet on top of my head as though in benediction. Only it was Ashirvad or blessing with his divine lotus feet instead of with his hand. Thus I experienced heaven upon earth with this first darshan of Papa in this wonderful center of Ramnam Anandashram. It was an unforgettable experience. Even to this day, it is fresh in my memory afterwards. Conversation took place between us. I asked him a number of my questions. Some of them he answered, others he countered by asking some questions himself. After some time, he enquired whether I had taken my food. When he heard that I had come straight without taking anything, Swami Ramdas very kindly asked them to take me to the kitchen and serve me my meal. Looking back, I think it was Puja Mataji Krishnabai who served me my meal that day. I remember how she was all kindness and loving concern, lest due to my shyness, I may not eat sufficiently being a newcomer on my first visit to the ashram. I ate and rested a while. They pressed me to stay for the night, but I declined and told them that after Papa's rest, I would take leave from him and return to Mangalore the same evening. They took me to the vision office and I purchased a new copy of In Quest of God. Then, taking leave of Swami Ramdas, I came back to Khanhangad railway station and boarded a local train reaching Mangalore in the evening. During those days, 30s, one well-known and popular publisher and writer called M.S. Kamath used to publish a weekly newspaper called Sunday Times from Madras. It was very popular and liked by the public because of the variety of features it contained. There was always at least one page, sometimes two, exclusively set apart for religious subjects. One Sunday, I was pleasantly surprised to see Swami Ramdas' picture on the religious page, and I was excited to read also an announcement that the Swamiji would be visiting Madras at the invitation of the Saraswat community of the city and gave a few discourses while there. It gave the program with the date and time of the meeting. One day, it was a discourse at a well-known venue called Gohale Hall in the evening. On another day, it was an informal and midday satsang talk with Ram Bhajan and Darshan, as well as meals that followed. Before leaving, I inquired about details of how to reach the Gohale Hall because our family lived far away from the busy part of the city, with our house located at the very outskirts of Madras, just where the municipal corporation limits ended and district board area commenced. When I reached Gohale Hall, I found it completely packed to capacity. I could not even enter the hall. Very many persons were standing at the back as all the seats had been filled. As it had taken some time for me to locate the hall, Papa Ramdas was already speaking when I reached there. My eyes beheld a strange sight. The usual formal seating arrangement on the dais, with a table in front and a few chairs behind, did not seem to have met with his approval, and he had the chairs pushed back to the wall and the table moved forward until it was almost at the edge of the dais. He was seated on the table in his usual pose with legs folded, body absolutely straight, and hands moving with appropriate gestures in keeping with what he was saying. He was speaking in Konkani, words poured out of him in a ceaseless torrent. He was in an inspired mood. He was speaking about the glory of Ramnam and the need to lead a disciplined life. The audience was listening spellbound, taking in everything he was saying, without missing a word. Before I left, I inquired from the organizing persons where Papa was staying in Madras. I was told he was staying in the house of one Dr. Gopal Katre in a well known locality called Santome, which was at the southernmost end of the famous seaside marina of Madras, where the clear open beach road ended and residential locality started. The next day, eager to have darshan and satsang with the holy saint, I went all the way from Shetpet to Mailapore where the bus terminated. Then I had to walk further eastwards towards the seashore to reach Santome. Santome Road also was a long stretch of road parallel to the sea with a few residential buildings on either side. When I went past the Malapur locality and came to Santome Road, I asked a couple of persons where Dr. Khatri's house was merely within a furlong's distance to my left side. But somehow, due to unfamiliarity, I turned right and started walking, stopping now and then to ask local persons where Dr. Khatri lived. I must have walked more than a mile in the hot sun. Then I halted and asked another person who happened to be a devotee and perhaps a South Kannada man. He replied, "Oh, Dr. Katre, you mean where the holy man Swami Ramdas is staying?" I said yes, nodding my head vigorously. He told me that I had travelled in the opposite direction and was going farther and farther away with each step I took. He said I would have to go all the way back, even past the turning into Mailapore, and would find a double storied house standing in its own garden to the back of the road. To my right hand, thanking him, I walked all the way back. It was hot and I was perspiring. It was now about mid afternoon. At last, I located Dr. Ketre's house and went into the house and climbed upstairs. I was told that Swami Ramdas was about to leave for some engagement in the city, that I had better hurry up and take my chance of not missing him altogether. I ran up the stairs and came to the second floor room. Sure enough, Swami Ramdas had put on his sandals and taking his walking stick in his hand, was coming towards the staircase to step down. Someone took me forward and told Swami Ramdas Maharaj, "This young man has come to see your holiness and get blessings." I immediately knelt down, touching his feet with my forehead. Swami Ramdas bent down, resting one hand on his walking stick, and gave me a strong and hearty pat with the other on my back. He said, "Ramdas' blessings are there. Ramdas has to leave now. Take Ram Nam, remember God." And he went down to the waiting car. Such was my brief encounter and second darshan after my first darshan and meeting him at Anandashram. 2 years later, the World War extended across the Pacific to Japan. Japanese Air Force invaded Hawaii and bombed Pearl Harbor. On March, Japanese aircraft bombed Nagapatnam Harbor. A Japanese aircraft flew over Calcutta. In an attempt to bomb it, however, the British RAF immediately took to the air, intercepted the Japanese aircraft, and drove it away. Now, the British authorities all along the east coast began to feel insecure. Three very important streets along the Madras Harbour line, viz. The first line Beach Street, the second line Beach Street, and Linghi Chetty Street, were evacuated by the British authorities. Obligatory darkness was imposed on all residences of Madras. Not a single light should be visible in any house, not even a candle light. People closed all their windows. After sunset, the city looked like a graveyard. Then, under the governor's order, the mayor announced to all the citizens that the authorities could not guarantee either the safety or the security of the citizens. They said all the citizens should go away to wherever they had a place or relatives. They would provide special trains to evacuate the city. I had then just completed 25 years in age. My elder cousin, brothers, myself, and some youngsters of our joint family supervised the shifting from Madras to Coimbatore, where the family estate was situated. It was a nightmarish experience. To this day, I am not able to understand how we managed to accomplish this complex and complicated process of uprooting ourselves from a bungalow in Madras, which was our home from childhood, to the big town of Coimbatore. It was early March 1942. During the past 10 years, from 1932 to 1942, since I left Mangalore and arrived in Madras, an inward transformation was slowly taking place within me. A veritable holy sangam of three spiritual streams was created within my life. At Madras, I came into possession of the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna sometime in 1933, and the life of Sri Ramakrishna in 1936, his birth centenary year. Secondly, I read about Sri Ramana Maharshi in M.S. Kamath's Sunday Times in a special issue with the narration of the young Ramana's renunciation at the age of 17 when he was a schoolboy. The article carried Sri Ramana Maharshi's picture also. This article evoked within me a state of renunciation and an idea of seeking self realization. Thirdly, I began to read Swami Sivananda's spiritual literature from Sri P. K. Vinayarangam's My Magazine of India and a book of Gurudev's quotations published by him. All these three saints hammered one single central line again and again into my mind viz. Life is meant for God realization. Goal of life is God realization. If you die without attaining God realization, your life is in vain. You have wasted away this precious gift of human birth given to you by God. Now, my heart was filled with an intense fire of vairagya. The idea of renouncing the world and going away in seclusion somewhere in the Himalayas dominated my mind day and night. I was in a dilemma. Even though unmarried and quite free from one point of view, I felt myself bound by ties of duties and responsibilities towards both the junior members of the family as well as my seniors whom I had to serve. Father's health was not in the best of condition. The forced departure from Madras had been something of a shock to his sensitive nature. My duty as the eldest son held on to me. On the other hand, the keen longing to renounce everything in the form of worldly ties pulled me powerfully. Sometimes I would suddenly wake up from sleep after midnight and find myself shaking with fear with the thought that I may never be able to take to the Nivritti Marga or the life of total renunciation. This all the more pressed upon me the urgency of taking necessary steps into the fire of dispassion, renunciation, penance, and deep meditation. Somehow, 8 or 9 months passed this way at the now R.S. Puram residence. I began to feel powerfully that I should not delay any further. Something from within me urged that I must take this final step at an early date without waiting any more. Slowly, a plan began to take shape in my mind. I would start from home telling them that I wished to go to the holy Tirupati to have Lord Venkateshwara's darshan and spend a few days there. I knew they would readily agree to this because we were all devotees of Tirupati Venkateshwara and I had taken a vow to go to Tirumala, walking up all the 7 hills from Tirupati town below. From Tirupati, I wrote to them that I had made a similar vow to visit Shirdi Sai Baba's Samadhi Sthan, and having come to Tirupati, I might as well fulfill my second vow also. While the reasons for visiting these two places were quite authentic and genuine, I had actually no intention of returning home at all. My step was the final renunciation. I had already written letters to 5 spiritual personalities, praying for their blessings for an important step I was about to take in my life. One letter was to Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi, one was to Swami Ramdas, one to Swami Rajeshwaranandaji, Guru of the famous philosopher Dr. T.M.P. Mahadevan, and one more was probably to revered Sri Malayala Swamiji of Vyasashram, near Yerpedu in Andhra Pradesh, 10 miles from Tirupati. I was already in touch with Gurudev Swami Sivanandaji through correspondence. Sri Ramana Maharshi's letter briefly informed me that my letter was placed before Bhagavan and herewith was Bhagavan's prasad. A packet of Vibhuti and another of Kumkum came with the brief reply. Swami Ramdas' reply was typical. Swamiji wrote, "Beloved Ram, you have not told Ramdas what step you are going to take. So how can Ramdas bless you without knowing your step?" However, all good undertakings have Ramdas' blessings. I was writing home from the places I was visiting, giving the family the impression that I would be returning home, while all the while I had no intention of ever coming back. This deception was with the intention of not giving them a rude shock that I had gone away forever and that they were never likely to see me ever again. Because in those days, Himalayas was a far, far distant region of India. After a month's stay at Shirdi, I wrote to the family that I would visit Mathura and Brindavan. I spent 3 weeks in Brindavan and Sri Ramakrishna Seva Ashram there. I visited Mathura also. From there, I took a train to Delhi and got a connection to Haridwar. While I was in Brindavan, I had written to Gurudev Sri Swami Sivananda Maharaj that I was coming to his ashram to surrender myself at your feet and to serve you. The reply was, "Your letter. Oh, yes, you may come. Regards Prem and Om." After leaving Delhi and arriving at Haridwar, I stayed for 10 days in Sri Ramakrishna Seva Ashram at Kanghal, Haridwar. They were very kind to me due to the letter of Swami Ashishanandji Maharaj that I carried from Madras mat. At Kanghal, revered Swami Ajoyananda was the head of the ashram. He knew Gurudev very well. I took his leave and left for Rishikesh on 19th May 1943, which was the sacred day of Buddha Purnima or Buddha Jayanti. I reached Sivananda Ashram, which was 1.5 miles beyond Rishikesh town, mid afternoon, and someone there gave me a little corner in the hall of a dharmashala, which was close to the Sivananda Ashram premises. Sometime after sunset, in the twilight, Gurudev Sri Swami Sivananda, followed by a brahmachari carrying a hurricane lantern, came down from the upper part of the ashram with a big long staff in his hand. As he came near, I fell flat upon the ground in Dandavat Namaskar. He inquired from someone nearby, "Who is this person?" They told him I was Sridhar Rao of Madras, who had been corresponding with Gurudev. He kindly asked me to get up. I did so and felt that I had reached my destination. I felt blessed by God. This is how my entire life was offered at the feet of Gurudev Sri Swami Sivananda Maharaj. It was the culmination of my physical journey upon the outer plane of this world. My spiritual journey now commenced.